Welcome into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me here. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you have wonderful, wonderful plans for this wonderful, wonderful day.
I hope people are able to get out. Time's running out, man. Everybody's going back to school, and so I feel like it's a great weekend for everybody to get out and hit up those barbecues and hit up the river rafting and do what you got to do because football's here, Christian, and summer's almost over, man.
It's funny. So obviously BYU and Utah don't play in week 0, so
Right.
They're still 2 weeks out. But next week, man,
It's here.
it's here.
It's here.
So it's not like our summer is necessarily ending, but it's almost the same feeling for me where it's like, yeah, I got to go back to school now.
To me, it's kind of that feeling, right? It's once football season starts, we've turned that corner, right? Summer's over. Give me the fall weather, man. Give me the pumpkin spice lattes and.
Are you a pumpkin spice guy?
Heck yeah, man.
That's funny.
I love all things fall. I love all things Halloween.
Yeah.
Give it to me all, man. This is the sign that we're approaching that time of the year, man. The color change and the orange and red leaves. It's almost there, man.
I get it.
We're getting there.
And it is funny being our age because we don't have kids.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people here at the station do. So this was like back to school week. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners obviously have kids that went back to school this week. So that was kind of fun, getting the vibe around everybody getting back into, school mode.
I will say that's one of the things I'm glad I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about going back to school. I don't have to worry about, classes or anything. I can just focus on football. I can focus on sports.
Yeah.
It's good times.
Yeah, and I went and got a haircut and the barber was like, "Oh yeah, we're crazy busy. Everybody at the shop is working 7 days a week this week because of back to school cuts."
Yeah, man.
It is that time of the year. So if your kids are in school,
it's a good time.
Hope they had a first couple days of the year, even though the first couple days are always disclosure days and whatever. But anyways, no, it's good to be back. It's good to enjoy the last little bit of summer, although it's still going to be hot for quite a while.
Probably for another month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's just jump right in, man. It is football season. It is almost here. It will be here. And we're ready. And we're ready to just get going because we've had camp. We've had the conversations and we're just so close. We're so close. But there's something that I want to bring up. And I want to start the show off with this today because it's been something that has been debated. I've heard throughout, I think all of the shows here on the station have talked about it at one point or another, and it's become a little controversial. Looking at Utah and their offense, okay, Devon Dampier is the new quarterback, of course. He comes from New Mexico. He played with Jason Beck, who was the offensive coordinator at New Mexico. Really electric player. Mountain West Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Over 1,200 rushing yards last year.
Insane, man.
And now he comes to the Big 12. He comes to Utah. They potentially could be contenders for the Big 12 title. And there have been a lot of people wondering whether or not Devon Dampier should still run as much as he did at New Mexico. We're talking over 1,000 yards rushing. And I guess I'll let you start off first with your thoughts, and then we'll see what you have to say.
I think no matter what happens, I think Utah's running game is going to be very good this season. They have the O-line to go with it. They have 2 running backs that I think can potentially be really, really good in the backfield. I'm talking about Wayshawn Parker and Rogers. When you have 2 running backs like that, I feel like the running load should end up falling on the running backs, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think, and not to say, I'm not saying at all that Devon Dampier shouldn't run the ball because I think that's a big part of his game, and I think that's something he's very good at. If you have that opportunity, right? If you have a chance to make a play with your legs, absolutely take it, 1,000%. But I feel like a lot of the reason why Devon Dampier had those rushing stats and had 1,166 yards on the ground last season plus 19 touchdowns was because for the most part on that New Mexico defense, Dampier kind of had to do it all.
Yeah, he was Superman.
Right, he was their Superman. And I think now with Utah, you don't have to be that Superman. You don't have to put the entire offense on your back and carry them the way that you did in New Mexico last season, right? You have a supporting cast. You have a better cast around you. No disrespect to New Mexico or anything, but you have a better cast around you, and it's going to allow Devon Dampier to rely on a guy like Wayshawn Parker to be, to be your bell cow, to be the guy that has 1,000 yards. I would still like to see Devon Dampier, make plays with his legs. I think that's something you're not going to want to take out of his game because he was very successful at doing so. 19 touchdowns, speaks for itself. But you don't have to be the Superman with Utah.
Going through his game-by-game rushing numbers, it is a little interesting because he starts off the season 3 carries for 34 yards against Montana State. Week 2 last year against Arizona, 15 carries for 130 yards. That was a shootout, crazy high-scoring game.
Right.
Then it drops back down to 5 carries, 9 carries, 8 carries. Then at about mid-season, Alex, it jumps up when they start conference play, really. 11 carries versus Air Force for 50 yards, 15 carries for 105 yards, 15 carries the next week, 12 carries for 207 after that, 17 carries for 127, 28 carries against Washington State, and then final game of the year, 17 carries for 101 yards. So it seemed like when New Mexico, again, when they picked up the conference play, when they really were like, okay, these games matter, we've got to try and win, they leaned on Devon Dampier. And I like the angle that you took at it. Like, the reason that he ran so much, especially looking at the trend of more towards the later of the season, it's because he had to. It's not because that's all he could do.
Right.
So I think that is obviously really important to keep in mind. The supporting cast at Utah is going to be a lot better. The offensive line is a lot better. The running back room as a whole is supposed to be a lot better. Rogers was at New Mexico with Dampier, but you also add Wayshawn Parker. So that's 2 really good running backs. That should theoretically carry a majority of the rushing load. I want to point out, though, that, the reason that he was able to win Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, the reason he was able to move up to the Big 12 Conference from the Mountain West, the reason he's here at Utah isn't because he's Joe Burrow, right? Like, that's a huge part of his game is running the ball. So I got to be careful how I word this. I've just heard a lot of controversial opinions back and forth about thinking that he needs to tone down the running because that would affect his passing numbers. And I don't think that correlates, really. I have a hard time seeing the difference. I look at Lamar Jackson in the NFL, like obviously the best of the best when it comes to dual threat quarterbacks. And credit to Lamar, he really has become a better passer in his professional career, but he is still a threat to do damage on the ground every single week, and that doesn't take away from his passing game. And, of course, the Ravens, speaking to them, they went and got Derrick Henry to be their main focal point on the ground. So Lamar Jackson doesn't have to do everything. But you don't take that away. You don't take away the rushing element. He still needs that to be effective. Because, honestly, if Devon Dampier is not a threat on the ground, if you take that aspect of his game completely away, I don't think he's a good enough passer to just win as a passer. I think he needs that ground game to be successful. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that's what makes him a special player.
Right. And then that's kind of where I stand with it too, is I don't want him to completely take it out of his game. Right, because like I said, that's what made him successful. That's what made him good. And I'm sure Utah fans are going to want to see him run and create those plays with his legs. But at the same time, again, you don't have to, right? If you don't have to go for, 28 carries against Washington State, right? You don't have
That's
to
ridiculous.
You don't have to do that. Design quarterback runs, I'm sure, will still be a part of this Utah offense and what they want to do under Jason Beck and what they want to accomplish. I'm sure Dampier will still get his opportunities, right? But you don't have to go 28 carries in a game for this team, for this guy to be successful, or for him to be successful. I think you can tone it down a little bit with how much he runs and find some success in a Parker, in a Rodgers. But you don't want to take it out of his game completely, because I feel like that's part of what makes him so successful. I do, and I feel like if you're a Utah fan too, you're looking at his passing numbers and you would like to see that improve this season. And if, I feel like that's a great question, right? Do you sacrifice a little bit of his rushing production in order to help his passing production?
Yeah, were his passing stats bad because he was running too much, or were his passing stats bad because he didn't have a great supporting cast of wide receivers, or were the stats bad because he's not a great passer? And I think that's what we're going to learn across the course of this season. And obviously you trust Dampier, you trust Jason Beck, of course, to figure things out on offense. So I do think those stats will look a lot better than they did at New Mexico, because, as you brought up earlier, I mean, the supporting cast just wasn't there. And I do think that was a huge part of it. The offense at Utah that we're going to see this year is a lot less one-dimensional.
Yes.
There's a lot more dimensions to it,
right,
than New Mexico had last year. So,
well, and like we talked about last week, you need to have that balance, and you need to find that balance, right? Because while Mekhi Bernard had a great season, a lot of people would stack the box, and a lot of people would shut down the run because they didn't respect Utah's pass game. And so you have to continue to find that balance to make sure that Devon Dampier can be effective, not only in the run game, but also in the pass game as well, and make other teams start respecting the pass game, which I feel like a lot of this season last year, Utah's pass game wasn't respected.
Again, yeah, it's not about asking Dampier to be Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, a drop back passer. Like you're saying, they just need... the defense needs to respect that passing game just enough to where they can't send 8 or 9 guys in the box and really make it hard. So I'm excited for this Utah offense, man. I think that it's going to be I know that Tyler Huntley was here not that long ago, and I know Bryson Barnes could run a little bit, right? And even Wilson was pretty mobile, but it's like this is a special level of athlete.
Right. When you look at Bryson, when you look at Isaac Wilson, I don't necessarily think dual threat, right?
No.
It's not I mean, they could do it. They did do it, but it wasn't, I wouldn't necessarily say it was their forte. It wasn't where we saw them at their best. Whereas Devon Dampier, you look at him and he is your prototypical dual threat quarterback.
Again, that's why he's here.
Exactly.
That's what makes him special versus whoever else was in the transfer portal.
Right. And I think Utah bringing in both Jason Beck and Devon Dampier, it's a huge win. It's huge additions, and it's a big reason as to why Utah is starting to gain a little bit more hype in the preseason. It's why people are expecting Kyle Whittingham and his side to turn around from what was a 5-7 season last season and come back and have a big bounce back year. And it starts with the offense. It starts with Devon Dampier. It starts with Jason Beck. And it starts with what they're able to do and what they're able to accomplish with this offense.
I think I've been laughing because I've been saying this for a couple weeks. I almost guarantee the first play of the season is going to be like a QB draw or something. Just to be like,
I can see it.
Here.
I can see it.
Here's a little something.
Yeah.
And I think that's funny. And I made this example a couple weeks ago. Like, I remember when Utah opened the season at home against Florida and Bryson Barnes was starting that game. First play of the game, first play of the season. It's a play-action play, but it's like a 75-yard touchdown.
Yep.
And how awesome was that? And I know that the season didn't end up going the way Utah wanted, but for Bryson Barnes that year,
that changed.
You're coming in basically off the street.
Right.
And that one play to be the first play of the year, that just gets you confidence as a player.
Exactly.
And
that changed the narrative around Bryson Barnes.
Right. So I think as far as the confidence thing, dialing up a run play for Devon Dampier, the first play of the season. It's not going to be a handoff to Wayshawn Parker. It's not going to be a RPO pass or a play action pass or, a drop back pass. I do think that it's going to be some sort of quarterback draw, quarterback power. We'll see. Just to show everybody, like, hey, this is what we have.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
Jason Beck's got you right where he wants you, man. Because they're gonna throw a 70-yard bomb first play.
Yeah.
Watch, I'm going bomb. They're gonna air it out first play.
That would be hilarious.
That's what's gonna happen. And it was interesting, man. We were talking to a national college football writer on JJ and Alex earlier in the week, and he brought up a really good point. Utah's first game of the season is at the Rose Bowl at UCLA. And they also have their quarterback, right? And I think heading into that game, Nico Iamaleava. I think a lot of the spotlight, and like he mentioned, that a lot of the spotlight in that game is going to be on Nico Iamaleava. But he says that Devon Dampier has a really huge chance to steal the show. Because it's also his debut with Utah. It's also our first look at Devon Dampier, right, in red. I guess in Utah red.
Utah, yeah.
In Utah
nice.
red. And so he says that he's looking at Devon Dampier to steal the show against UCLA because there is going to be a lot of eyes on that game because of Nico. People want to see what this transfer from Tennessee is going to bring to UCLA, especially, right? UCLA isn't projected to have that great of a season. They were projected one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten. So a lot of eyes will be on this game for Nico, but Devon Dampier has that opportunity to step up and steal the show.
For those out of the loop or that may have forgotten, Nico Iamaleava, I can't remember how to say it. Sorry.
I think it's Iamaleava. I could be wrong.
He led Tennessee to the playoffs last year, to the college football playoff. Was he a true freshman? I think he was. Or maybe a redshirt. Either way, it was his first year. Okay. Spring ball comes around and he holds out of spring ball because he wanted more NIL money.
Yes.
And we hear about holdouts all the time in the NFL. It's really relevant right now because of training camps and stuff. We had yet to see a college football player, a college athlete hold out for NIL money, and Nico was the first player to do that. Tennessee refuses to meet his demands, so he enters the spring transfer portal and now plays for UCLA instead of Tennessee. So yeah, that is a big storyline. That was one of the bigger storylines this offseason in college football. And because of that aspect alone, I do agree with you. There are going to be a lot more eyeballs on that UCLA team this season, even though they're not expected to be good. People want to tune in and see what that looks like. Because they recognize the name, they heard the name, they heard the controversy. So
and the drama that went along with it.
So Utah drawing that opponent week 1, that is good. You want eyeballs. You want everybody to tune in and check out your game. And then those people watching are going to be like, oh, this Utah team, that quarterback's pretty electric. That's fun.
They got some juice, man.
Yeah.
They got some juice. And that's kind of, I think, why UCLA is a perfect opponent to start the season. I'm sure we'll talk about it too the week of, but
2 weeks.
2 weeks, man. I feel like that's why they're the perfect opponent, right? Is because you will have eyes on this game. Maybe a couple months ago, right, as we were heading into spring training and into spring camp. Maybe it wasn't necessarily what you were expecting heading into this game, but because of that transfer from Iamaleava, now there will be eyes on this game, and now it's a great opportunity for Utah to test themselves, right? I feel like we will learn a lot about what Utah is this season and who Utah is going to be this season, just by that one game.
Yeah.
It's a big test. Like I said, they're not projected to be anything great in the Big Ten this season, but they're still a good team.
It's not a pay game.
Right. And it's not going to be your SEU, right? Where you have 6 touchdowns in the first half or whatever it was for Rising last season. Like, this is a test. It's a massive test, and it's on the road. It'll be a fun one for Utah.
Yeah, no offense to my friends down south, but this is not going to be a 48-0 win where the quarterback Rising was, I think, 10 of 15 with 5 touchdowns.
It was something like that, man.
Yeah, you're not going to see that against UCLA. So it's a good tune-up game. It's not a pay game, but it's not a super tough opponent, right? It's a really good tune-up game to really get the Utes dialed in and get them ready for this season, where everybody's kind of expecting to see a bounce back, and I think we'll know pretty quickly whether or not that will be the case. I mean, if they do come in and struggle against this UCLA team that we're kind of talking down right now, like, yeah, that's a big Utah red flag, you know?
It is, and it isn't.
Well, it wouldn't sink the season, but I think it would be worrying.
It would be worrying, but it's not by any means. It wouldn't be, alarm bells wouldn't be sounding off. It's not the end of the world if they do go into the Rose Bowl and they lose that first game. It's more. It would be more so if they go into the Rose Bowl, they lose, and they don't look better on offense than they did last season.
Right. Yeah. If there's nothing there.
But if it's a close game,
it's going to be apparent either way.
Right. We'll find out really quickly what we're going to expect from Utah this season. I feel like against this UCLA Bruins side.
I don't think we're going to have questions coming out.
Yes,
I think is a good way to put it. Yeah. I think we will know what to expect from the offense. We won't know saying, "Oh man, it was kind of hard to tell if that's going to be able to hold up." I think we will know. So, big game. 2 weeks.
Huge game, man. Huge game, man. We're all looking forward to it. Already looking at early odds.
Oh,
Utah 6.5.
Yeah,
6.5 point
degenerate.
Favorite. Not that I'm condoning betting or anything. I don't bet.
Real quick, while we're here, any thoughts on Utah and BYU missing out on the top 25?
No, not really. I think that's fine. Utah being right just on the outside, I think it's fine. BYU falling out, that one it's a little bit more of a head scratcher, but then at the same time, because of what we know from these teams' quarterbacks, right? Utah, in theory, has a quarterback. Yeah. BYU is still trying to figure out who that quarterback is going to be. So I think for me, the thing that stood out the most was the fact that BYU was still on top of Utah in the ranking or in the AP poll, but just a smidge, just barely.
Literally 12 votes.
Yeah.
I think looking at the poll right now, especially Boise State, I mean, I know who's their quarterback, Madsen, right?
Mattis Maxson.
Look, I know that having a guy is important, but you can't tell me that Boise State's going to be anywhere near as good as they were last year without Ashton Ginty.
They'll probably still be one of the best group of 5 teams.
They will, but that doesn't mean that they should be in the top 25.
Right.
I definitely, right now, and maybe it's just homerism being in the market here, I would definitely pick BYU, Utah. I'd probably pick Baylor, too.
I could go down this list.
I'd say all 3 of those teams are better than Boise State right now.
Even Baylor and Louisville, who are the next couple out. USC, we'll draw the line there.
Okay.
We'll draw the line there because USC is way too far high up.
Tulane is the next highest G5, G6 team,
yep.
right?
Yep.
And Tulane only got 23 votes for the AP poll. Meanwhile, Boise State is in. I would say it's a toss-up between Boise State and Tulane.
I mean, just from what I know, it's not, I don't follow Tulane or Boise State religiously, but from what on paper, it looks like Tulane right now has a little bit more than the Boise State Broncos.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. We'll see. I bet this AP poll is going to look silly here pretty soon. But anyway, let's take a break. Coming up next, Alex, let's talk about the Utah Jazz schedule. That came out yesterday. We'll get into that. Stay with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles with me here. Last segment, we were talking about Utah football and Devon Dampier and how much he should be running. So in case you missed that, we will have that podcasted shortly, wherever you can get your podcasts. But Alex, we had some big news Thursday afternoon. The Utah Jazz schedule, the full schedule, has been released, and I want to jump into that.
Let's do it.
Okay, starting off, did you think the Jazz were going to have over or under 2.5 nationally televised games.
No, I think
Over or under?
I think I would have taken the under.
Really? Okay.
I think I would have.
So they have 2, right?
And I think maybe you can get away with 3 or 4, but I think 2's probably about right.
Okay. So the thing is that obviously with Ace Bailey being the 5th overall pick, that is going to draw eyes. But then on the other hand, why did the Jazz have the 5th overall pick? Well, they were the worst team in the NBA last year. So yeah, that's how they. It's kind of like a line you got to walk, right? How many national games do we really give this bad team? I honestly would have thought it would have been more. 2 seems pretty low, but again, that's the bed you make. So those nationally televised games are the January 27th against the LA Clippers. That will be on NBC and Peacock. And then February 23rd at the Houston Rockets. That game is on Peacock. So those are the 2 national games for the Jazz. Anything else stick out to you? The Jazz, by the way, opened the regular season October 22nd at home against the Clippers.
I think what sticks out to me the most is there's a pretty nice stretch of games there to start the season against teams that, I think will be good tests for the Jazz to figure out, what kind of Jazz team, what Jazz team are we getting this season, right? You look at the schedule. The Clippers is a tough one to begin with, but then you go to Sacramento, and I have questions about Sacramento. I think there's a lot of questions about Phoenix and where they're going to be this season. Portland as well. Then you have to go back to Phoenix, then Charlotte, and then you get a good team against Boston. And so there's a nice stretch there at the beginning where you're playing teams that I think are near or close to your level, right? When you look at this Jazz roster, when you think of where this team's going to be this season, where they're focusing again on a youth movement, on a youth development, there's winnable games in that stretch.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see what their record is coming out of that stretch and how many of those teams they either are able to beat. And I feel like we'll learn a lot about who this Jazz side is just from that early stretch.
We'll see. They should definitely lose the Clippers. I guess Sacramento could be a toss-up, but still Sacramento has so many more vets than the Jazz do. Phoenix, I mean, Devin Booker is a better singular player than probably anybody on the Jazz right now. I mean, maybe Lowry, but Devin Booker is still really good. And they had a pretty good offseason, even though they traded away Kevin Durant. I don't know. Portland should be trouble. I think they are on the up and up. Again, with Phoenix. Charlotte's bad, but they've got a lot of lottery talent, so theoretically they could flip the switch like at any given point.
Yeah. They brought in a lot of new players.
So there's a real chance the Jazz only have like 1 win through that stretch. Boston, again, Tatum's out for the year. You lose Porzingis. You lose Drew Holiday, but you've still got Derek White and Jaylen Brown. They're going to be a good team. And then you go Detroit, Minnesota. So really, I mean, I saw a lot of people freaking out saying, oh my gosh, the Jazz could have 5 wins within the first month. And it's like, you're overrating the Jazz right now. The Jazz are not a good basketball team.
You're pushing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is there is a best case scenario, right, where you leave that Boston game and you're 3-4 on the season through 7 games, right? And that's probably best case scenario.
Best case for the tank or best case
best case for not for the opposite of the tank, right? For
okay.
just
you're saying
just the results on the season.
At most, you have 3 wins.
I would probably say you got 3 wins in there.
Okay. See, for me, best case is you lose all of them. You lose every single.
You're 0-7 right off the bat.
I kid, I jest, but it is an interesting. I mean, it's hard with an 82-game season, and so many players don't play the whole thing, and it is hard to try and guess where you're going to get wins and losses from. But all in all, I think that the bottom line is we have basketball news, right? And the schedule is out, which means we know when they're going to be suiting up. We know some key dates, right? They're not going to be playing on Christmas. They're going to be playing on Halloween. That could be a fun game against Oklahoma City. That game is part of the NBA Cup. Wrapping up the season, I mean, looking at their final stretch of games, they'll be at home. This is their schedule in the month of April. They're at home against Denver. Then they go at Houston, at OKC, at New Orleans, at home versus Memphis, and then at Lakers. So that's a good opportunity there. You know, if the Jazz are tied with another team for the worst record in the league and the Jazz need to lose out to secure the high draft odds again or whatever, which I don't know how much that they're going to be doing. But again, I don't think their goal is to necessarily be the worst team in the NBA this year because...
Well, you see how that turned out last year.
Right. And you know what? I actually want to go back to that because last year when we heard it was the youth movement and all that, I got to give props to us because we came on air saying that's not going to benefit these young guys at all. What good does it do to give a 13-year-old the keys to a car and not teach him how to drive?
Right.
Say, go figure it out. And then they come home and they're like, Dad, I crashed the car 3 times. And now it doesn't work anymore. Who does that benefit?
And to a point, yes, because I feel like there is some noticeable development in some players, but there are some other players that I feel were stagnant.
Cody Williams.
And you didn't really see.
Playing that much for Cody Williams was a borderline detriment to his career. I really hope that did not set him back.
Yeah.
Because what we saw with him playing as many minutes as he did when he was just simply not ready, I don't like that.
Yeah.
The good news is I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think that they realized that that's probably not a good move. I think that they realized it's also a tough line to walk, right? Because you don't want to lose your draft pick. That is very valuable this year, but you don't want to be awful. You need to figure out, you got to let Will Hardy coach these guys up and just find natural development. And that's the hard part. You can't force anything.
You can't force anything, and, you know, in the case of Cody Williams, it bodes well. I don't know how much we're going to take it out of you know, the Summer League performance, but I did like the improvement that I saw from him. But
yeah.
last season there was moments where, quite frankly, he looked like he wasn't up to speed at the NBA level.
No, there were people talking about, you know, statistically and by several metrics, like one of the worst rookie seasons ever. And obviously it's going to look inflated because of how much he did play.
Right.
So that's tough. And I wouldn't want to put that burden on any 18 or 19-year-old. And simply, again, he was just not ready for the NBA level. And now after having a year under his belt, you're right. Summer League was encouraging. So, but it's not just about Cody. It's about everybody. It's about Keontae. It's about Bryce Sensabaugh. It's about Taylor Hendricks. You know, all of these guys, Flip, Collier, and then even Ace. Like,
yes,
it's about developing these young players the right way, because the truth of the matter is that first group of 3 becomes extension eligible next summer, and I don't think that they would extend any of them unless they have like crazy all-star seasons, which isn't going to happen. But those are decisions that are going to have to be made in the near future. You've got to know what you have in these guys. And I don't think they really figured that out with anybody last year, even though they said that was the goal. And it's hard to do that in a player in their first or second year, right? Which would have been, you know, Keontae's second year versus Flip and Collier's first year. You're not going to know that right away, but you have to know soon.
And I think we've talked about it ad nauseum, that we didn't really learn much about the second-year guys last season.
No.
It seemed pretty stagnant for the most part. I feel like the one we probably would have seen some type of positive development was from Taylor Hendricks, and unfortunately that got cut short.
Yeah.
Very short, very quickly. But you look at a guy like Keontae George, you look at a guy like Bryce Sensabaugh, and I mean, we learned a couple things about George, we learned a couple things about Sensabaugh, but the reality is, I still don't think you know 100% sure what their ceiling is and what you have in a Keontae George and a Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah, fortunately, I think they have, I don't want to say a good roster, but I'm saying that the roster is more constructed as an actual team this year instead of just a collection of draft picks. I think you've got good depth at the point guard spot. You've got good depth at the shooting guard. at the small forward, the power forward, the center. I think you have good depth across the board, and so where you're not really just doing things artificially. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see Jazz basketball on TV. Part of that is Ace Bailey. I want to talk about him. Just turned 19 earlier this week, so shout out to him. Happy birthday to one of the newest Jazz men. And that really just blows my mind. Like, I brought this up when he was drafted. He's going to still be in his prime when he's a 10-year vet in the NBA.
He's a young man.
10 years down the road.
Yeah.
And you could say this for Cody Williams, too, because he was the same age when he was drafted. It's just crazy to think about 18, 19-year-olds getting drafted. Hopefully Ace is here for a long time because if he is, that means he's good. That means he pans out. And I think that's going to be huge for the city of Salt Lake. I think that there are a lot of expectations on Ace Bailey's shoulders. I think he has what it takes to meet those expectations. They might need to be tempered because he might not meet expectations right away. It's hard for a rookie to do that, especially for a really bad team. But man, am I excited.
I hope what we see from Ace Bailey, and I think a lot of Jazz fans can probably resonate with this, is I just hope we see flashes that from Ace Bailey this season that shows and that proves that this guy has the potential to be that all-star that they're looking for. I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking for out of Ace Bailey this season. And I'm not expecting him to come in and immediately be the hero. I'm not expecting him to come in and immediately change the franchise and change the fortunes of the Utah Jazz. But I do hope that we get to see some type of flash of, oh, this kid's got that potential. This kid has that look. This kid has that athleticism, etc. Right? He showing the flashes of this guy can be the all-star that you've been looking for.
Ace Bailey's not taking the Jazz to the playoffs in his rookie season. But the Jazz didn't draft Ace Bailey because of what they want him to do as a rookie.
Right.
They drafted Ace Bailey because of what he has the potential to become, and that truly is an all-star level player. And, if that works out, man, that's something the Jazz haven't drafted in a bit. I mean, I know like Donovan Mitchell doesn't seem like he was that long ago, but after going through the Jazz seasons that we've had over the past 3 years, it kind of is feeling like a long time ago.
Feels like an eternity ago, man.
And I know that Lowry made an all-star game, obviously, but they didn't draft him.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then that was 2017. It's not that long, but it feels...
You're talking when they drafted Donovan Mitchell. Yeah.
2017. And then it's really not that long ago, but it feels like forever
It kind of is. I mean, that is 8 years.
Yeah.
Not good math. Anyway, and then that's all like, that's just what's on the Jazz right now. Even just Ace Bailey is enough to get you very excited. But then again, you talk about there's still next year's pick. And the thought is that they are going to be bad enough to be picking, hopefully, in the top 3. Maybe they fall out of that again because if you're getting player development, which you want, maybe you're too good to be drafting that high. So that's hard, but there is the potential to add another bona fide franchise player in next year's draft. So that is the needle that the Utah Jazz are going to have to thread as far as, do you want player development? Do you still want to have a good draft pick next year, or do you just want to kind of roll with the flow? You see how things go.
Yeah. It's way too early to be throwing this out there, hypothetically. But
you're going to throw it out anyway.
But I'm going to throw it out anyway, because why not? If, you end up at the end of the season and you fall out of the top 3, again, you have a similar situation where you end up in a spot where you lose out on the lottery and you fall.
Yeah.
How long can you keep this going? When does it end?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, after next year's draft, after the 2026 draft, the Jazz don't have to worry about that stupid pick conveying to Oklahoma City, right? So, I mean, depending on where that pick falls, I doubt the Jazz are going to be good enough for it to convey.
Yeah.
But the good news is the next year, so now we're talking 2027, they don't have to worry. They can actually make offseason moves to become a better team.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, I'm saying that obviously long term, you would rather have the top 3 pick next year.
Right.
But you would see some gratification in the short term. That's why, I mean, it's flexibility, right? And that's what they've kind of preached. That's a word that's come up the last few off seasons, right? Is flexibility. And you've got a lot of options that are open, and you're not pigeonholed into banking on one thing happening, right? The Jazz were like, oh, it would be really cool if we walked away with Cooper Flagg this year. That's why we are going to finish with the worst record in the NBA. But at the same time, the Jazz realize that it's a lottery, and you can't bank on that happening. What happens? They fall to 5. They still walk away with Ace Bailey. So I think, the Ainges and Justin Zanuck they're smart enough to know when to be flexible.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of options, and not to mention all the assets that they've accumulated. So I really do trust them moving forward.
I think for me, in analyzing all this and looking at all this, I feel like I would feel better about the Jazz's future if it was in their hands. And what I mean by that is not having to rely on a lottery, not having to rely on random numbers and random ping pong balls that fly out of a machine and give you the draft order, right? It's a little bit better when you have that ability to have your future in your control, and hopefully, like you mentioned, after the picks that convey are no longer a worry and a thing of things past.
Yeah.
Then maybe hopefully that there's a little bit more of a will to bring in guys that can actually change the roster and change your fortune and have a little bit more control in your future. And I think that's the part where I think Jazz fans are desperate to get to.
Yeah.
But there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Desperate is a very good word. Yeah. Very good word in that scenario.
Yes.
You never want to be desperate, but I think that's the point that we've reached in Salt Lake City. All right, we got to take a break. Coming up next, we're going to do technical fouls. We got some good ones this week. Make sure your Venmo's set on private. That's my tease.
There you go.
All right, we'll hit that next. Stay tuned. It's the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles here with me on a beautiful Saturday morning. Still pretty hot out, but we're nice and chilly in here in the studio.
It's always cold, man. It's always cold.
It's a nice little getaway.
Yeah. We'll turn the heater on during the break. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's time for Technical Fouls, one of our favorite segments every week. You already know what it is. We just talk about some of the funnier things that happen in the world of sports. I think we've got a runaway favorite this week, Alex. Oklahoma State quarterback John Mateer. Funny enough, his name was tied to Utah.
It was.
Before they went and got Devon Dampier and Jason Beck.
Right. When I think they were one of the early names to pop up for Utah. Him and his offensive coordinator, Arbuckle.
Yeah, Ben Arbuckle.
They were one of the early candidates to be that Utah was looking into. Ends up not being Mateer. Obviously, Mateer ends up going to Oklahoma with Ben Arbuckle, and then Jason Beck and Devon Dampier end up at Utah.
So somebody went and found some Venmo transactions from Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer. This is what's funny about Venmo. It's basically your bank statements, but they're public. Like you can go in and see what people are Venmoing other people for, and you know how it is. Like I've done it, you've done it. You know, you Venmo somebody.
Oh yeah.
And as a joke, you put something stupid.
Yep.
Like my uncle has a funny joke. He'll Venmo me for something, or he'll Venmo my brother, and he says the description will say breast implants. Like he does that frequently.
Yeah.
So if you look through my Venmo page, no, I have not received breast implants.
Thanks for clarifying.
But if you strictly look at my Venmo page, you would think so. Anyways, John Mateer's Venmo history. There is one payment that says sports gambling, and then another payment right after that says sports gambling, UCLA versus USC. And that was November 20th, 2022. UCLA did play USC November 19th,
yes.
2022.
That's what makes this one a little fishy.
So the big question here, like, is this guy joking around or is this guy really stupid?
A couple of things here for me. First of all, who has the time to go back on a opposing team's quarterback on their Venmo, scroll all the way back to 2022 to find this to make it go viral? You got too much time on your hands, whoever did this. Get a life. Go touch some grass.
Or maybe it's something they were holding on to.
I don't know. But whoever did this, whoever went back and found this, you got too much time. Secondly, for me, I don't see it as anything malicious. I see it as...
So you think he was joking?
I think it was a joke because we do it all the time.
He did release a statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he essentially says it was an inside joke between he and his friends.
Right.
Which, okay, I get it. Like you said, everybody does a funny description for Venmo, whatever. You got to be smart enough to know, because even though this was 2022, he was at Washington State at the time. He was still a college athlete. You've got to know that that's not okay to even joke about.
Yeah.
And I get that this is maybe before some of the more recent gambling scandals that we've seen, talking about like Jonte Porter and some other NBA players and even some NFL players since then have been suspended for gambling. So maybe this was before it was as serious as it is right now. But like, dude, you've got to know that you can't joke about that. They do not take that lightly.
No, they don't. And I think we're kind of seeing the fallout now with it. Obviously, the NCAA is looking into it to make sure that there's no wrongdoing on John Mateer's end, on John Mateer's side. He released a statement, said it was all jokes. It's all inside jokes is what he called them. But you're right. Even though we all do it as jokes, you do have to have some sense of awareness and some sense of, hey, I probably shouldn't do this. I am a college athlete. I'm a public facing figure, right? Especially for Washington. I'm the starting quarterback at Washington State
at the time. Yeah,
I probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah. So you're either stupid because you're dumb enough to actually tell the whole world you're gambling.
Right.
Or you're stupid in the sense that you should know that that's not something to joke about in your position. Either way, he's kind of dumb.
And even then, if you're going to do it, you go private on Venmo.
Yeah,
That's
I would bet
option.
his Venmo is private now.
Yes, I think it's private and it's been scrubbed.
He probably deleted it. I'm switching to Cash App.
It's been scrubbed from what I saw on the...
Did you look it up?
On the social medias. No, I didn't look it up, but I saw a follow-up tweet about it, and it looks like it's been scrubbed at this point.
That's funny.
Which is probably for the better. But if you're going to do it, be private, where only your friends can see it, or, plot twist, maybe he was already private. And his friends decided to... Someone of his old friends decided to...
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it was a screenshot that... somebody had, and for some reason they were like, hey, John, pay for my lunch. And he's like, no, I'm big timing you. And he's like, okay. You don't want to do that to me.
Which, if that were the case, those are bad friends. Can't have those.
Or maybe John's a bad friend.
Or maybe John, who knows, man? Who knows? This could go deeper. Who knows?
What I'm thinking is that they probably were out to dinner or hanging out watching that game. UCLA versus USC. Because you also got to remember, this was back in the Pac-12 when Washington State was in this conference.
Right.
So maybe I don't recognize the name of who he was Venmoing, but maybe he was out watching the game or whatever, and they joked about betting.
Yeah.
And so, maybe he was paying for something else after, and then, included the quote-unquote inside joke of gambling on the game. But
he's at a B-dubs.
Yeah.
Watching the game.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I've done that.
So I think, that happened pretty early this week, but I saw that and immediately technical foul.
100%. And I felt bad for the kid too when it was first happening. Because, like I said, if it really is nothing malicious behind it, if there's really no wrongdoing, I do feel bad for John Mateer because, like I said, we all do it. We've all gone on Venmo and we've put in dumb descriptions to one of the payments for our friends. Like, it's not, it's not anything new.
Yeah, sometimes this show just writes itself, Alex.
Those are the days we love.
That's what's nice about the technical foul segment is we don't have to do any actual planning. We can kind of just...
We let other people do the planning for us by doing dumb things in sports.
Yep. All right. Stay with us. Coming up next, we're going to talk BYU. Of course, we've got some updates from the quarterback battle. Learned a little bit of information this week. A 3-man race is now down to 2. We also got some comments from Jay Hill talking about the pass rush during their scrimmage. Jay Hill, big fan of BYU's pass rush. So we'll talk about the Cougs next. Stay with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.